Again, Erev Shabbos, everybody. Welcome to Jerry's Parsha Ponderings for Parshat Lech Lcha, Tafshin Pei Bet 5782. Thank you for joining us. Turning the lights on, and here we go. Going to be try to make it quick this week, but as we know, Lech Lcha was the first mitzvah given to a Jew. The first commandment given to a Jewish person was Lech Lcha me'artzecha u'mimoladetecha u'mibeit avicha el haaretz asher areka. Go lecha, for you. In other words, it's in your benefit. What I'm telling you to do, you're doing ultimately for yourself, because this is what's in your best interest, as is everything that Hashem, that God tells us to do. We just have to realize it. But Lech Lcha me'artzecha mimoladetecha mibeit avicha el haaretz asher areka, make aliyah, basically. Move to Israel. Avraham had to go from Kasdim with Haran, and he went to Canaan, to the land of Israel. And my question, as I was going over the Parsha this week, that occurred to me, who is Avraham? Like, why Avraham? We know that from Adam Harishon, from Adam until Noah, 10 generations until the Great Flood, people we know from last week's Parsha, when, as I said, off the rails, God had to destroy. God basically did a Control-Alt-Delete, pulled the power out, plugged it back in, rebooted the system. The meteorite hit the earth, the dinosaurs died, the fossils, the boiling hot water, and the rest, as we know, is history. But comes another 10 generations, and the Torah goes through. He gave birth to him, Shem had Aver, and everybody, right? Until Avraham Avinu. Why Avraham Avinu? What was so special about this guy, Abraham? And what occurred to me is that, and I'm sure this is not that, that big a chiddush. This is not anything, and no one's thought about before. But what occurred to me is that Avraham chose God. It's not so much that Hashem chose Avraham, although he did, but it was Avraham who chose HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How did Avraham choose HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Well, Avraham used his 5 senses, right? He looked around the world, and he said to himself, nah, this isn't an accident. There's no way. And he saw that at the time, his father, Terach, as we know, was a great idolater, right? He, the Medrash tells us that he had a store for getchkas or whatever it was. He was an idolater. And Avraham, the famous Medrash, he put the axe in the hand of one he broke all the idols, he left one around, and then they put the axe in the hand of the one. It's a Medrash, right? But the bottom line is, he saw people worshiping idols, and he goes, what are you talking about? This is it's a bird with the head of a goat, or a goat with the head of a bird, a bear that looked like a tree, or a tree that looked like a bear. No, this is nonsense. This is silly. It's like watching CNN or MSNBC today. Come on, really? 81 million votes? Who are you kidding? I didn't say that. I did, but I didn't. When you open your eyes and you see, you go, perfect ecosystem. The trees produce the carbon dioxide, and we can't live with that because of the oxygen, and the ocean makes exactly the right amount of rain and the right amount of oxygen from the sun is exactly the right amount of distance away, or everything would explode. If it was a little further, we'd all freeze to death. It would be Mars. It's not an accident. Right? Avraham saw intelligent design, and he said there has to be an ultimate power. There has to be a force with the capital F. And Hashem looks at this and he sees Avram and he says, the force is strong with this one. So the force chose Avraham because Avraham chose the force. And we are his descendants. We are his descendants. And we know Avraham moved from Orkastim, from Haran. He takes Lot with him. They come to Eretz Canaan, they come to Israel, and he sees that there's fighting going on between his shepherds and Lot's shepherds. They're having labor disputes. And he realizes that Lot, even though it's his nephew, maybe not the best influence. Maybe not the best influence. And we see that ultimately Lot chose to go to Sodom. Sodom then would make New Orleans or Las Vegas today look like, Salt Lake City, Utah. I mean, nothing, whatever you got in Vegas and whatever you got in New Orleans or any of the other quote-unquote sin cities, got nothing on Sodom. Sodom wrote the book on Sin City. And that's ultimately where where Lot wound up going. It's like we were in Vegas a couple of years ago, and you see there's all these, there's a tremendous Jewish community in Las Vegas, and I'm thinking to myself, you really think this is such a good idea? You could get into plenty of trouble there. And this is what Lot decided. So Avram said, this isn't a good guy for me to be hanging around with. So he decided, you know what, you do you, I'll do me. And once that happened, once he separated from the negative influences, then Hashem tells Avram, you see all this land? Right, Hebron, Shechem, Yerushalayim, Tel Aviv, Ashdod, Netanya, right? This is all for you because you used your senses to choose HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you realize that if you want to live a proper life, you have to separate yourself from negative influences because nothing ever good comes from it. And as a reward for his righteousness, we were chosen to have this land. And this is why the first mitzvah given to a Jew is Lech Lcha, because Avraham made the right choices. And as Ruchi, my wife, always reminds all of us, life is about choices. Another point that occurred to me, Avraham had this hullabaloo. He had this scuttlebutt with the 4 kings and the 5 kings, right? Amraphel, Kedar Laomer, and he went and he fought and he defeated them, thereby, in a way, acquiring property. Although he told Melech Sodom, I don't want anything from you. I don't want you to buy me. I'm a free agent. And again, as a result of that, it was Hashem who rewarded him. But this occurred to me. I'm thinking about, you can't read Parshas Lech Lcha. You can't read Parshas Vayera. You can't read the whole story of Avraham without thinking about why the recent peace treaty that the Trump administration orchestrated between Israel and the UAE, and then afterwards afterwards Morocco, Bahrain, right, Oman, hopefully others will join, right? It's called the Abraham Accords, named after Avram Avinu, right? We see Malki Tzedek in the picture bringing wine, and it was a big peace treaty that occurred afterwards. And history is nothing if not a teacher, right? We see history repeating itself again. To think that I would live at a time when I could see peace, like Not this forced upon us peace like the whole Oslo nonsense that did nothing for anybody except cause pain and suffering on both sides. This is a real negotiated peace, and it's real with embassies and flights and business, normalization of relations. This is history repeating itself. And it's not only that, like, they came to Avraham Avinu, they wanted to make peace with us. They're very excited about this. To think that the Saudis could in not a short period of time be part of this is really amazing. And we're seeing the legacy of Avraham Avinu and all of his children, because, let's face it, us and the Ishmaelites, we're cousins, almost brothers. Yitzchak and Yishmael were brothers. We're cousins. We're first cousins. We really do have a lot in common, if we could get past the silliness. And we're seeing this occur again. And when I read that whole story, I said, wow, we're really living this. So we're seeing history unfold before our very eyes. The mitzvah that Hashem, you notice I keep repeating that Yud Kei Vav Kei slide. I love it. The mitzvah that Hashem gave us all, as children of Avraham Avinu, as the rightful indigenous people. Right? It was just Indigenous Persons Day, right? Because you can't say Columbus Day anymore, because that's bad speak. But I still celebrate Columbus Day. But we are the indigenous people to this part of the world, to Israel, to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. We are the people that this land was given to by none other than the Force with the capital F, right? So what is the mitzvah, the big mitzvah that Hashem commanded Avram? Kum hitalech ba'aretz la'arka u'larachba ki lacha etnena. Come to the land, travel the land, hike the land. It's yours. Make it yours by doing a chazakah, by walking on the land and making it yours. And through that, uvarech kol minei tfuata letova v'tein bracha al pnei ha'adama. Through that, the land will be blessed, and we will be blessed through his holy land. Shabbos makar habracha rabosai. Again, it is the Holy Sabbath coming upon us very shortly. Don't roll on Shabbos. Enjoy it. Spend time with your family. Kiddush, challah, chulent, kenzana bissel herring. But enjoy the Holy Shabbos. Make it a great one. Have a great weekend, everybody. Shabbat shalom.